All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I'm Parth Doshi, working as a RPA consultant at Wonderbots and leading UiPath Community Mumbai chapter as well. So, there, the topic that we have today, right, and the speaker that we have, I think this is something that the topic is very much in trending. UiPath apps, we are using it to develop low-code apps, and there are many more integrations possible with the complete UiPath ecosystem as well. So we previously had boot camp. So if you want to learn about the basics of UiPath or the fundamentals of it, you will find the events and their recordings on the same page where you RSVP'd for this event. So there are many different events that we have conducted. I think we did some 30, 40 days back as well, where again there was same speaker who is there today as well. So we are trying to spread news about what updates are coming in UiPath app. So during this session, if you are implementing it in your organization and you have some queries with respect to that, we'll have a dedicated section for Q&A as well. But if you have anything, any enterprise problem also that you would like to ask, you can unmute yourself. So now coming back to our today's session and today's topic, our today's topic is going to be how do you manage and deploy UiPath apps? Building it is very interesting. Like you will do UI, you will drag and drop UI elements, and there are multiple things that you can do in UiPath apps. But when it comes to managing the versions, right? For processes, we use GitHub, we use TFS, SVN, and all that kind of version controlling, sometimes Bitbucket as well. But what happens in case of UiPath apps? So there is a new update that has came, if I'm not wrong, probably 2 or 3 months back. And in that, it provides a complete version controlling system for UiPath apps. So Arvind Kumar, speaker for today. He's a no-code developer consultant at Ashling Partners, and he's going to take today's session where he'll talk about how to manage and deploy UiPath apps in production. So yeah, over to you, Arvind.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining the call. So let me share my screen.
Also, please be interactive, ask as many questions as you want. We don't want it to be like only one-way communication. So please feel free to unmute yourself as well and ask questions.
Okay, so the today topic will be managing and deploying UiPath apps in Orchestrator. And we'll see what is ALM, new life cycles, and then deployments, version controls, and what is the new features and what is upcoming features. So this is something about kind of a general feedback like UiPath meetup. We are UiPath Mumbai meetup chapters, and Parth already spoke about that. So this is our team today: Parth, Joshi, before Rohit, and then I will be a speaker for this call. And then meeting agenda. I will be taking you through the introduction to UiPath apps, though I have gone through, you can say, last call also, what is the introductions and then basic agenda. And then again, I will go through the introductions and UiPath apps, new features, and then apps folder-based deployment. And then we'll talk about the application lifecycle management. And then if you have any questions, answer, we'll go through that. So we have talked many times like UiPath apps is just a low-code kind of platforms where you can drag and drop the solution and you can develop your apps and you can publish your apps and you can deploy your apps and you can integrate UiPath apps with process, cube, and a number of, you can say, end systems like line of business data. And then you can integrate with UiPath apps and you can build a nice UI, user-friendly application. So we'll talk about the latest release and then future release. So what are the latest release and what is going to be released in futures? We'll talk about a little bit more. So latest release, we have an app creator role, new apps homepage, and apps in folder. So this is the 3 key features was released in this quarter. So app creator role, if anybody have seen that earlier, anyone can go and create the UiPath apps and those has been like now limited. Like if you want to go and create a new apps, you must need to be an app creator roles. And by default, all the, you can say admins and everyone has an app creator role. So if you want to give permission to any users, you just need to specify who need apps creator roles, and you can go into apps and you can give the permission to the users. And then we have new apps homepage. Like earlier, we had only one kind of edit, runs, and everything, but now we have a build and run. Both are like a kind of new apps homepage where you can, if you are kind of owner of the apps or co-owner of the apps, you can see a build apps list of apps which comes under the build. And if you have a read permission on the orchestrator folder, you can see all the apps on the run side. And then we have apps in folder. Like we'll talk about that, like how we can publish the apps, and once we publish the apps, how we can deploy the apps into folder, and then how we can run the apps, and how we maintain the versions and everything. So this release will give you like a lot of you can say maintainability of the users and everything. So why this is important? Because earlier, if you are doing kind of let's say apps, and if you have to give the permission to the users just to run the apps. So every time you have to go into apps, edit the apps, and then give the permission to the particular users. And that becomes tedious, like when you have a process and then you have a kind of a queue, or you have kind of storage buckets and everything, and then that everything comes under one place. Like you can go into folder and you can give the permission, so everything will come under orchestrator. But apps is aside, so every time if you have to give the permission to the users, you have to go into apps. So just to overcome from that kind of pain and problem, they come up with the apps in folders concept, where one place where you can maintain the users, you can give the permission to the users. So you don't need to go like many places, in number of places, just to give the permission to the users, and then you can run the apps. So any doubts, any questions here in latest release? Maybe we can talk through that. Anyone?
Arvind, Suresh here.
Yeah.
Just a basic question. For using UiPath apps, do we need a separate license, or it comes bundled with the developer studio and the bots?
So if you have a kind of it comes kind of a SKU DSU kind of you need a data service license, and it comes under that. But if you have a kind of a public apps, you need to buy kind of apps unit, and through apps unit you can give the like how many apps unit you allocate to the apps. It will run under that particular kind of license and everything. So we have a kind of SKU like DSU. You need a kind of data service license, and you need a kind of a developer license for that. And if you are running a kind of public apps, external apps, you need a different kind of license. So yeah, we do have those certain license.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to the next slide. So future release, like this is one of the big release coming down the line, maybe August or September. I can't confirm because this is something from the UiPath product team. So something called UiPath Apps. So it will give you a kind of a richer experience for editing your functionality with expression, and you can write a lot of kind of a custom kind of like VB.NET. In VB.NET, how do we do? Like you can go and write a lot of coding, and you can do a lot of function expressions and everything. So similarly, VB apps will have a lot of assembly, which is inbuilt assembly for VB.NET. And by using those VB.NET assembly, you can write a lot of VB expression codes, which is not there right now inside kind of the current release. So you can go and you can write a lot of, you can say, operations on kind of data service, or you can write on some kind of expression validations, a lot of kind of select top 50 n number of kind of expressions, and you can say you can do copy paste. And just right now it's very hard to copy and paste the rules from one place to another place. So you can just copy and paste the expression from one place to another place, and you can format the number, dates, and everything. So This is one of the big release coming down the line. It's not right now there rolled out, but if you need to access, if you want to do, you can go and you can just access, you can request for the public preview and you can start doing kind of research and analysis if you want to do. It's available right now for private and public preview, but you have to just request it. It's not rolled out for all the tenants. So if you want, you can just go into UiPath and you can just request it for the UiPath preview apps. Any doubts on future release, guys?
I think we can go ahead.
Okay. So we'll talk about the current process of deployment, like how we are doing process deployments and everything. Like if you have a data service or you have kind of cubes and everything, how do you do? Like you develop it, publish it, and then deploy it, right? So this is something called UiPath Studio. In UiPath Studio, develop your process and you just publish it. Once you publish it, goes to the particular orchestrator, and then you have different folder inside orchestrator, right? And then you can select the particular process and you can deploy the process on particular folder in orchestrator. But what was apps deployment? Like this piece was missing. You have apps designer and then you have develop and publish. So it was like something like once you develop your apps, you can just develop it and you can publish it. It doesn't go on orchestrator. So you can access everywhere on particular, you can say org unit, and that was a kind of challenge. You have to maintain users into apps also, and then orchestrator also. If you have kind of a process integration or queue integration or anything. So this was the current old apps deployment kind of cycle. But now coming with the new, how it will looks like, it will looks like similar to the process deployment. So you will have, you can develop, you can publish it, and then you can go into orchestrator. And in orchestrator, you can deploy, like you can select particular folder, and inside the folder, you can go and select the apps and you can deploy the apps, right? So this is the new apps deployment cycle. Any questions on this deployment cycle kind of architectures or flow, guys? Anything you want to know? Cool. So we'll talk about the apps application life cycle management. So there are kind of 4 steps what we follow into life cycle ALM, like manage permissions of an app. So we already talked, like you have app creators, reads, permissions and everything. And then once you develop your apps, testing the apps, and once test the apps, then managing the manage and deploy the app version. So you can go into orchestrator and you can deploy the apps and everything. And then something called last one is called packaging and apps as a client. So if you talk about UiPath apps, it is not a kind of a real mobile application apps or anything. So it does not support any mobile native application, like either it's you can say Android or you can say iOS or anything. So you cannot go and install in your mobile application and you can run the apps, UiPath apps. It neither support like a kind of PWA, like where you can just install your downloaded file in mobile application and can run the application. So it right now it supports kind of a browser based. So you can develop your apps and you can run the apps into browser. Either if you have to run into your mobile, then what you can take the URL and you can run into on your mobile, and then you can test your applications and everything. It supports kind of a very much user-friendly mobile application. So everything comes. So you have to develop your mobile application like app very responsive. It's kind of responsive application. So if you open into web application, it will look something different. Once you open into your mobile, it will come as a one by one after another kind of container. So you will see something different. But when it comes like packaging and apps as a client, but in some cases, like suppose you just want to run like installable file, like just double click on an icon and then they want to run the application on desktop. So in that case, what you can do, you can package it an app as a client and you can install some certain steps are there and you can install on customer or client machine, and then customer can just double click and launch the application. We'll see one by one. So these first three points is already like we are talking about that. We'll see one by one, and then let's talk about the fourth one. So for packaging and apps as a client, you must need to install LTS. You can say this one Node.js on your client machine. So if you don't have Node.js, you cannot run that. So in that, you need to install Node.js, and Node.js will give you kind of an installer files and everything where you can run kind of a client applications and everything. And once you install Node.js, you will have kind of features, and you can say like capability to run the application your system anywhere. So now packaging and apps and a client, what you have to do, we have something developed by UiPath. You can just go into GitHub and you can download. And once you download it, you need to change some icon. I will go through this one maybe like in a real time. And then once you modify the sample, and you can just rename your application. Like if you have a leave request, or if you have something else, you can just go and rename it. And then we have some JS file, main JS file, and then we have a package JS file, JSON file. So what you can do, you can go into JS file and you can change the application URL. Like if you have different application, you can change the application URL. And then we have some window parameters. You can change the window parameters, what exactly you want. And then similarly, we have package JSON file. Package JSON is something where you can define your application names or maybe display names and anything you can just define. And then once you run certain application like npm install, npm run start, npm run distinct, it will give you a kind of installable file on your local machine. And then once you install that, you will have a kind of installable icons where you can launchable icon. I can say double click and you can launch the apps, and you can just perform the operation as you want. So you don't need to go every time into browser and log in it and then do certain operation. Okay. So we'll go with demo and we'll see hands-on everything one by one. Okay. So we'll go. So this is kind of a UiPath cloud tenant we have, and then we have apps. So I was talking about the key features release about manage, like this manage access was not there earlier. Now we have manage access, and in manage access, what you can do, if you have admin app creator like admin permission only, you can do that, and these icons will be enabled for you. So once you go and click on manage access, so what you can do, you have by default app creator roles here, right? App creator, and you can add the users. So only users who have app creator role, they can edit the apps, or they can be a kind of a co-author, or they can create new apps. So what you can do, assign roles, and you can select any users. Let's select, and then you will have only one role, that is called app creator. So once you give app creator, users will have access to create apps, or they can be any co-author in any applications, right? So this piece was not there earlier. Earlier it was for everyone, anyone can come and can create the apps. So now you need app creator roles just to create any apps. Okay, so we go to apps now. So if you don't have app creator role, you will see this create new buttons, maybe like it won't be there. Maybe in some application you have only run the apps. So then if you have those kind of access, you will see this launch icons and everything. But if you have app creator roles, you can see this button, create a new app. So once you say create a new app, you can go and select app, and you can either import a new file, and you can just go and create application. So let me go and export one of the application. I will say export. I'll go and create a new app. So I can go import from file. So I can say patient satisfaction survey. So by default, like earlier, this name was also not coming. So now if you import the app, the name of the file will be displayed directly here. So I can just go and rename it, say, okay, now I can go and create. So this application is very simple. Like I've created one home page and then survey response of the patient. So just capture the response from the, you can say patient. So now I have already like these apps and I have one integration like data service patient satisfaction, which I have created one data service entity, and then I have integrated with this one. So, and then I have main page and survey response. And in main page, what I have done, I have just put a kind of buttons where once I click on this button, it will navigate to the survey response, and survey response will capture the data and then come back to this page. So if you see the events, in events, I have just written, go to the survey response, what open to page, and then just open this page. And then once this open, I will go and preview it now for your reference. Let me preview. If you want to change the titles, maybe for future. I say patient survey response survey. Okay, I will save it. So now you can see this one. I just launched before the changes. So you can go and click on the start button. Once I click on the start, it will load the page. And then in this page, what I can do, you can go back, either you can just capture the response. So let's capture the response. And I say no, okay. So I will say save. Once I save it, so kind of a capture is message, okay, success set, and then come back to the main page. Now what I will do, the main agenda of this demo, like I will go and publish it. So let it publish. So you can see it gone and published now. So let me go to the apps now. So you can see UiPath meetup, but I don't have launch icons and anything. I cannot launch from here because this is just a kind of development, build the apps and everything. So every time if you have run, you need to go and just launch from here. So for this one, you need to deploy the apps into folder. If you don't deploy the apps into folder, you will not see the apps here. And so, and even for to see the apps, you must need the access on particular folder. So let's go to Orchestrator now. So in Orchestrator, like let me go to tenant, I will create one more folder. I would say this folder name UiPath meetup. So what you have to do, you have everything here. Now you can deploy apps, then you can deploy process and everything. So now you need to go into automations. And once you go to automations, you can see apps. These all are kind of a new features. So in automation, you will see apps now. And then in apps, you will see deploy app, right? So now you can say deploy app. So in app, you can see all the apps which has been published on the particular tenant. Then you will see all the apps which has been published here. So I can see UiPath meetup. I will select UiPath meetup. I can change the names, or by default, if you leave it, it will take the default app name. And here you can select the version. So if you have a new version, you will see new one. And if you, right now we have 1.00. So now I can go and just deploy the apps. So now you can see UiPath meetup, and this is project names, and I can launch from here. Either you can go from here and just launch it now. So this is your runtime production URL. So this one, like every time you need to give to the end users to run through this URL, right? So now you can go start and you can just come here. Now let me go to apps again and show you something. Go to apps. and I will go and redeploy it again. So I'll go and publish it again. So now this is version 2.0. So now if you come here, this one, app setting, you can see your manage version history, right? So by clicking this version history, what you can do, you can just go and roll back your apps also. Like you can export or restore this version. Suppose you have deployed something and it's not right and you want to go to the previous version, what you can do, you can go and click on this. So you can go to setting. So once you go to setting, then you will have version history, and in version history, you will see list of versions which you have deployed, you have published, not deployed. So you can, what you can do, you can select the app, either you can duplicate it, either you can create export as a file and you can create a new app, either you can restore to this version. So once you restore to this version, everything will go rolled back to the particular versions, and all the controls and everything, whatever changes you have done, it will go and change, and it will go to the previous versions, whatever you have selected, right? So now let's go, and one more thing, if you publish it, what you can do, you can add some comment also. So like latest release UiPath demo, and then you can see here 3.0, and this default tenant will be always default tenant. So assume that you have multiple tenant and you are integrated with data service with one tenant, and you can say all the component with one tenant. So it will show the default tenant, whatever tenant it is integrated. So suppose if you have kind of a prod or dev or UAT, anything like tenant, so what you have to do, just to change this tenant, all the integrations, like if you have the storage bucket or data service or XYZ, everything you have to change to the particular tenant. And once you change all the kind of integration, you will see that default tenant name also will get changed. So right now I have only one tenant. That's the reason you are seeing default tenant here. So let's go and publish it again. Cool. So now you can see here default tenant, and you can see this comment. Earlier this comment was I have not entered, so you can see the comment, and you can just, if you want to see everything, so just over it and you can see the comment. Okay. Now let me go back to the orchestrator once again. And I will go to UiPath Meetup automations. And then I will go to apps. And suppose I have changed a lot into apps. I want to go to the latest app just to run for the users. What you have to do? You have to deploy an app. What you can do, you can select again UiPath Meetup, and then you will see the list of versions here, right? 1, 2, 3. And you can select the versions, whatever versions you want to go. And these versions will not change the URL. It will be always same. Okay. So now again, you can go and redeploy it again. All right. This is interesting. This is something bug. Maybe it was not there. I will check that. So it just go and override the. Okay. Okay. So it just go and override the deployment. So you can see the latest release and you will see the versions here, right? I think upgrade to latest version. You can do from here also. Okay, see the upgrade happen, but you can deploy from here also, and you can select the particular versions and you can go hands and forth. Okay. So this URL will not change. It will be always same for the one app. Okay. So now you have seen like what is app creator, how to maintain versions, how to do comment, how to go rollback, then how to deploy apps into folder, and then how to run, how to launch and everything. So any questions here before we move to the ALM life cycle management?
Guys, please do ask questions if you have, because this is like a very pretty much new update, as Arvind is already explaining. So if you're implementing something in your organization, or if you participated in UiPath HyperHack and at that time you face some challenges to deploy and publish it, maybe you can ask about that as well. But I think, yeah, this is a really great feature that UiPath product team has came up. Yeah.
Cool. So if we don't have any questions, I will move to the next, like how to create a client management and everything. Okay. So what you can do, guys, like let's go. I have already kind of downloaded one apps client sample master. What you can do, if we go to the UiPath apps, UiPath apps client, this one. So this is the URL. What you can do, if you want to install apps as a client, so what you can do, you can go to this URL, and then what you can do, you can go to GitHub, and this GitHub will give you kind of already implemented code where you can see you on our. So what you can do, you can go to code and you can download it as a zip. Once you download a zip, you can place anywhere on your machine or client machine, and then you can extract it, the zip file. So now once I extracted this, all folders will come. So now I will go UiPath meetup here. And then once you are extracted, you will see this folder, apps client masters, simple client master. So now you can see I have this icons, then license, some main.javascript, package.json files and everything. And this is just some GitHub codes and everything, right? So let me go and take I will take an icon called patient survey. So you can see this one. This is one icon for patient survey. So what I will do, if you see my desktop, I don't have anything for patient survey, right? For particular icon. So let's go back. So what I will do, I will take this icon, and you can leave it also, it's not mandatory, right? So I will go to UiPath meetup. I will go here and I will press this and I will delete this icon. Okay. And I will just rename this one as a icon. Okay. So now once I rename this, I can go to the main.javascript file, and what I can do, I can just edit this, please. Let's edit. And then what I can do, I can take the latest URL, which I have this one, right? So here, what you have to do into line number 7, like runtime URL, I have already set into. So you can go and just change this URL. Okay, so let's go and change this. And let's verify double quotes. Yep, this is good. So now what I can do, I will come back. And then you can see here we have some function to create window, height, width. You can change this also based on your requirement. So you can change this height and width, leave it as it is, because these all are very standard. So you can change also if you want to do, and just go and save it, please. So once you save it, it will save here now. And then once again, go back to the package. And then I will say, go and edit this, please, again. So now you have name, UiPath App sample, then you have display name, you have description, then you have like how the icons will be, like icon, main.js, and these all kind of electron file will start pick up and then listing. These are kind of a script function which will run one by one. Okay. Now we have go to the dev dependency, and these also are kind of Node.js kind of features and everything. What we have to bother here, you just go and change the name. Like I can say UiPath meetup, and then display name, I can say UiPath meetup apps. Okay. You can change the version also based on what exactly you want to do, and maybe demo, and you can change this one also. And this is basically reading main.js file. And then once main.js file, it creates some script electron, like it start, pick and pack the kind of all the electron builder directory, and then it distinct one folder. And then you can change this one also, like your product name. Like let's change this UiPath apps. So I will go and save this one also. Okay. So now once I save it, so guys, like now I will go to the CMD. Okay, so let's go here. And what I will do, I will just clear the screen. Okay, CLS. So I don't have anything. So see, if you don't install Node.js, you will not be able to install these npm commands and everything. So that is kind of prerequisite which I showed into demo. So let's go here and I will go to the particular folder. So where is our folder? Let's go one by one. So this is called UiPath Apps, and I will go cd back. So now we have something called UiPath meetup, right? So now I will go cd UiPath. We are under UiPath meetup. Let's go here. 1 second, guys. So I will change this name also again. UI UiPath. Okay. This will give a best. I will go again cd UiPath. Right. So now we are under this UiPath folder, and what I was talking in this slide. If you see here, you can change this, download the file. If we have downloaded it, modify some sample to meet up your needs. Here are some of the key modification. Icon, replace with any icon, just give the same name. So which I have already done. Main.js, go to the main.js runtime URL. So which I have already done. I went into main.js, change the URL. Then window parameters, this parameters, if based on your demand, you can change it. Then you can go to package.json file, and then you can change the display name, and then you can change other description also, like you can say here display names or name of the applications and anything. And then you need to run this particular command. And to run this command, these 3 commands, you must need to install Node.js on your client machine. So we'll go one by one. Now we will run npm install. So let's say npm install. So let's see how it goes. So see here, it is installing now. You can see something is happening into background. Make sure when you are installing, there should not be any error or maybe warning or something, because maybe sometimes if you have warning, that can create a problem, not 100% what kind of warning you have. So just try to clear those errors and warning after installation. Okay. So give some time. We'll give some time to install. So meanwhile, after install, what we will do, we'll run npm run start. So let it complete. You can see one more thing. Once we are installing, in the background, it is creating node_models. So see, it done now, and it created one folder that is called node_models. Now what I will do, I will say, 1 second, npm run start. Okay, so once I click npm run start, So it start electron methods, functions, and everything. So now it will open a window where it will ask you for your credential, client credential. So now it will go and will give the credential for the apps. So let it run. Let's come. Okay, so I will go with the credential. I will have to accept, and then I will go with Microsoft credential, which I have. And then I need to enter my credential. Reason why I'm entering, because this is client side totally. So it depends which client are trying to configure on their machine, right? So now let's go and run it. So this is something where you can test your apps, whether it is coming correctly or not. So let's go whether it is coming correctly. Cool. So this looks great. This means the app installations and everything, the app installation is done. And then now I'm able to test the apps into this console mode. So this looks good. I will go and close this now because my electrons, methods, and everything has been created now. So what is next one? Now next one is run distinct. This is another function where it will build up app package and set up files and everything, which is more of a kind of executable file, right? So now I just go to this one and I can say, just a second. So npm run this and this, let's go and see in the background, it will create another folder here. See this folder, okay? So let it complete first. So once it completed, it will come out. So it's packaging, building. So it is generating some file here. Give some second. Okay, so I think it generated UiPath Apps meetup. And you can see the icon which was selected. Let it complete. Okay, this is done. So now I have a client executable file on this particular folder, and you can see UiPath Apps Meetup Setup 1.2.0 application. So what I can do, I can go back again on my desktop. I don't have anything. Now what I will do, I will just double click and run this application. So now it will install. So it is installing. Let's see. Done. It's installed. Now you can see the latest icon here, UiPath Apps meetup. And now what I can do as a users, I can just go double click. And I can go here. And you can see the app is loading now. So cool. You can see here patient satisfaction survey UiPath meetup. So you don't need to give any passwords or anything. You can and you don't need to go into your browsers or anywhere. You just go and double click of the executable file and just install it and then go and start now. We'll just capture one data. So now you can see it's everything running here. I'll go and save it now. So let's go and save. It will go back and create it successfully. Okay, so this is done. And we are able to create the, you can say, client installable files and everything. And we are able to capture the data by using this. So anything like we can, so that's what it is talking here. Let's go run npm, and then this will result an executable in your dist subdirectory, that is dist UiPath apps, whatever name you have given here. So it will give 1.2.0.exe, which can be distributed to your users. So what you can do, you can give to the users and everyone, and they can just go and download it and they can do it. Okay. So we'll go to the slide back. So any questions here, guys?
Arvind, I have one question. So this is Nitish here. So my question is that basically, I understood like whenever we want to log into that application, definitely we have to provide the UiPath credentials, right? Or is it something like the other individuals, like maybe end users can have a different set of credentials other than the UiPath? Can we have something like that?
Can you come with your first question? I just missed out.
No, both are same only. So I am saying, instead of using the UiPath credentials, can we ask the user? Can we create a different set of credentials for the end users?
Yeah, we can ask them just to perform this, and I think it is store credential. We can change that, and we can just clear out the credential into settings. So basically, right now it's saved the credential here. So what we can go and we can just cancel out the credential. So every time when it pop up into that modular view, it will ask you for the credential, and you can just enter it, and then you can execute it.
Okay, that answers my question.
Anyone else?
Arvind, we have 2 questions in the chat as well. If you can just have a look at them.
So npm install will work for the project.json file and install those mentioned on the project. Exactly. Is it right? Yeah, it will. It always go and install for project.json. So you will have to give all the information into project.json, and project.json call that JavaScript. And in JavaScript, you have your URLs of the applications, everything. Do we need to have UiPath installed in the client machine? Where no, we don't need that, because it is completely client side. So it's just based on it's simple, like a kind of browser based. You are going and every time logging into browsers, rather than you are giving one step ahead. You just don't need to do overtimes, like kind of extra jobs. They can just do kind of, because sometimes you just think like a mobile application or PWA application. So when you talk about PWA progressive web application, you will have similar kind of executable file. You can just install it, and then you will have a kind of icon and double click, and you can run the application just to match with those kind of scenario. Okay. So we'll go to slide again.
Does anyone else have any questions, or shall we go ahead? 1 second. Yeah, Arvind, seems like no question.
Okay, so So if you have any questions, guys, you can reach out to us anytime.
All right. Okay. Does anyone else have any
Can you please
questions?
upload this PPT along the question for you, Parth?
For me,
Yeah.
can you please upload this PPT along with the recordings? Yes. I think Arvind, we can share the PPT, right? No,
Yep. We
any
can do that.
confidential information.
I will
Okay.
share the PDF.
Yeah. Then we'll try to share that, Balakrishna.
I have a question here, Arvind. So suppose if there is a DB connected at the backend with your UiPath apps, so how is that going to be connected? So is it like just a browser side we have this app?
So this is completely client side. So DB connections and everything happen through either you can go with the process or you can create a kind of integration service, and then integration service you can call into process. So right now we don't have integration service, direct integration with apps, but that is coming this year. It was already there and it was kind of pushed back. So you can go either right now with the process and you can call the process directly into UiPath apps, and process will take care of everything like all the DB integration configuration, and then you can store those kind of like a username password into asset, and you can just do kind of integration through process. Okay.
Sorry, I just joined late. So did you mention the benefit of using the UiPath as a separate executable rather than using it on a browser? I missed it.
So
Sorry.
I said like nowadays there are different kind of users, like they don't want to go every time and they want to go and just paste the URL and run the application into browser, right? So they want looks like something, they want kind of a executable file. Like if you have seen the PWA, like progressive web methodology approach right now. So every times when you work on those latest kind of reactive or Node.js, those kind of features, while their application give you kind of executable file and you can just install on your client machine and you can run always. So it's similarly, rather than going every time into browser, you can install that and you can just run and launch it from your client machine. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Arvind.
Thank you.
Also, while you guys are asking questions, right? Do you guys have any suggestion or any specific topic that you want us to cover? It can be with respect to UiPath apps or it can be any other product as well. So does anyone over here have any suggestions that you would like session on these topics more? Anything like that?
Yeah, we are always open, guys, for your questions.
UiPath DU Action Center. Okay, noted. Yeah, we'll definitely take this into consideration, Balakrishnan. Thank you. Anyone else has any suggestion? Custom connector. Okay. Anything specific to UiPath apps as well, please let us know, because Arvind is as well in the call right now, so that we can plan on that topics as well. Custom connector, UiPath DU Action Center is already noted. Anyone else has any suggestions? AI Center and DU. Okay. Okay, Ludovic. All right. I think that's it, right, Arvind? Anything
Yeah,
else you want
that's
to add?
it. Yeah.